4 years ago, we sold our house in Paris, we spent all of our life savings, and we took out a huge loan from the bank to buy this chateau. Over the last 4 years, we have learned many lessons from renovating, but we've also made huge mistakes. Here are the 10 things that we wished we had known before buying a chateau.
And thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this vlog.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. That's nice.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, I knew that came for a prize. What?
I want to know, what do you wish you had known before we bought the chateau?
So what do I wish I had known? Oh, many things. When we bought the chateau, we needed a big bank loan. And what I didn't know is how hard it is to get a loan, in France at least, for a project like this, for a chateau. If I had known, we wouldn't have been that sure that we would get it. We wouldn't have gotten that excited right from the beginning. And when it then turned out to be a long and painful process, going from bank to bank and having no, would have been less painful. So I really wished I'd known how complicated it is to get a loan for a project like this. And what about you? What do you wish we'd known?
Well, I think that when we first moved here, we were really stressed about getting started and making a lot of progress. And I regret that we did our groundworks very fast. And I think we were too rushed with doing the groundworks. And we just hired some tradesmen we'd worked with in Paris who were not experienced, were not local tradesmen, and they weren't experienced in doing groundworks. They didn't put in the correct diameter of pipes, and I think they also forgot to put in cable housings. So we were thinking, great, we found really cheap tradesmen, but actually it turned out later that the local tradesmen who are experienced in doing groundworks would have saved us a lot of money, and it would have saved us a lot of time because we ended up having to redig that big trench to make up for the mistake of the first time. I wish that we had spent more time researching to find really good tradesmen and get the best quotes and ask for at least 3 quotes for any project where we needed some help. Especially if you have a chateau, people think you're made of money, and some of those tradesmen are just going to add a couple of zeros to the end of the quote because they think you own a chateau, so you must be made of money.
These are our first apples on a tree that we planted about 3 or 4 years ago, right?
Yeah, we're getting our first fruit.
Getting our first fruit, which is pretty early. Normally, apple trees can take up to 5-6 years before they bear fruit, and this one has already fruit. Can I try one?
Yeah. How is it?
It's very sweet.
That's so good.
It's our first apple. Do you remember when we bought it? It looked like this.
Yeah.
One of the reasons for us to fall in love with this property was the beautiful garden. We have 6 hectares, which is 15 acres. But obviously it's a huge amount of work. And we made a very big mistake at the beginning, I think, and that's not to hire a landscape designer right from the beginning. If I had known that the landscape designer isn't that expensive, I would have called one in, help us to develop a strategy to develop this garden so that it doesn't entail a huge amount of work to maintain it. Without the landscape designer, I just started creating borders, I started planting trees here and there, but I didn't have a global concept, and I forgot to plant the most important things at the beginning, and that's hedges and established trees to give the garden a bit of structure. And the first thing our landscape designer asked us was, how many people do we have to take care of the garden? And I said, it's mostly me, occasionally Anna and our parents. And then she said, okay, no, not too many borders. Keep as much grassland as possible, because grassland is easy to maintain. And then over the years, if you have time, if you have spare time, you can always add borders and add plants. But at the beginning, make it look clean, make grass, make hedges, plant trees. And I'm sure if we had asked her at the beginning, we would have a better looking garden now and less work at the beginning. Most people say when you renovate, you always spend twice as much and it takes twice as long. Which is probably true. But what I wished I'd known was that there are a lot of things that look very complicated to fix, but are actually not such a big problem. And when we started working, we came in here, we emptied the chateau. When we visited, it was full of furniture. When we then bought it, it was empty, and we saw all the problems, all the cracks and all the rotten beams. And it was really scary for us. I wish I had known you can fix almost everything, and most things are less complicated than you might think. There's some things that are more complicated and more expensive, and we had this, like the facade. But for instance, these windows, when we came, we saw that most windows were rotten. We thought we need to change all of them. And then we met our carpenter, Benoit, who showed us how we can not only save these windows, because some of them are from the 200 years old, but also save a lot of money by doing this, by just repairing the rotten bits, which you can take off, insert a new bit, and you have a really nice new window. If I had known that so many things are easier to fix than I had expected at the beginning, I would have slept much better.
Even though we have finished almost all of the chateau now, there is still renovation work going on, which equals dust. And that dust is always everywhere in the chateau. It's dragged through the chateau. And honestly, yeah, it can be quite exhausting. And I wish that I had known that before starting this renovation. I would definitely suggest that if you are currently or about to start a massive renovation like this, definitely consider renting an apartment. If you can't afford an apartment, even renting a caravan or something where you and your family can stay whilst you're doing the massive, like really messy renovation work. So if I had known how messy and cold it would be to live in the chateau during those first few months, I would definitely not have hesitated to find some other accommodation that would have made our lives a little bit more comfortable.
When we understood that we have a relatively limited budget to renovate the chateau, we also understood that we have to do most of the things ourselves. And we went into this dynamic of trying everything, not being scared, learning, going on YouTube to find out how to do things. And it was good, and we learned a lot of things, and we were mostly successful. But at one point we needed to call in somebody to help us with the plasterboard. Alexei, you might remember him. And I figured out that what he can do in a day, I can do in a week.
Or 2 weeks.
Or 2 weeks. And not only my ego was hurt on many levels, but I also understood that sometimes outsourcing things is cheaper, faster, and more efficient than doing everything yourself. I could have spent the weeks that I spent before putting up plasterboards in different ways, doing other things, trying to make money otherwise, and just have him come in for a day, and he would do it much quicker and better. So I wished I'd known that we do not need to do everything ourselves to save money. Sometimes doing things yourself might be a false economy.
And talking about that, look at this lovely new plasterboard.
This was Vincent, he did this, look, you haven't seen it so far. This is the hallway for our new master suite. And yeah, he did it in an afternoon, and he also managed to put the paneling on. A lot of people ask, why do you put this paneling on? And this is just the base layer for the wooden paneling that we have in every room. And it's really well done. And I did the electrics, of course, but the plasterboard, he did it in half a day. It would have taken me 2 days.
Or 2 weeks.
I would have probably kicked into some plasterboards because they never fit when I cut them for some unknown reason.
Probably because you never measured them.
Anna, you're on Instagram again.
Yeah, I'm working. I'm just asking our followers which of the options they really like for the bathroom. It's quite interesting. So everybody was definitely going for option 4, which was the beautiful rendering where you walked through the space. And that was until we posted last week the 2 new renderings that we got. And I think now everybody is loving the Agostina rendering. It's very interesting to see how people are interacting and they love it. But one thing I wish that I had known, and I'm sure Philip will agree with me, and he likes to sort of gloat about this, is that he said right from the beginning we should have done YouTube, and I always disagreed with him. I was so focused on our business plan of setting up a bed and breakfast. I said, no way, that's the only way we're gonna make any money. YouTube is not gonna work financially for us. And I really regret that we obviously didn't do YouTube from the beginning, because we did some really exciting, really interesting projects, and we couldn't obviously share that with you guys because it's all been done already. So another thing that I wish I had known before buying the chateau is that you should be open-minded about different revenue streams when having a chateau as a business, such as weddings, gîtes, YouTube, workshops, retreats. So I definitely think I would be a little bit more open-minded. It's quite crazy because when I think about it, exactly a year ago, we decided to close our guest house. Doing both YouTube and the guest house was just too much for us and we were burning out. And that's basically thanks to you guys, because you have been watching us for the last couple of years and you have supported us by watching our videos weekly and also watching our advertising, maybe being patrons of ours. So whatever support you have shown us, we're very, very grateful. And we're also really grateful to sponsors like Squarespace, who have supported us for the last year. I know that having a social media presence, communicating with your audience is very important if you want to start a business or grow your business. But not only that, you need to have a beautiful, stunning website and it needs to be working really well. And the perfect way to achieve that, and an easy way, is to use Squarespace, an all-in-one platform to create an outstanding web presence, who also happens to be this week's ad. You don't need to have any programming skills or even particular computer skills to create a web page with Squarespace. You simply choose from their vast catalogue of templates and then you add your text and images and your site is done. It's a perfect solution if you want to build a web shop for your e-commerce business, or if you have some artworks to show to your clients using customizable galleries. If you want, you can even buy a domain from Squarespace, which keeps everything in one place, plus there are no hidden costs with them. So if you would like to create or rebuild your online presence, I highly suggest heading over to squarespace.com for a free trial. And if you're ready to launch, then head over to squarespace.com/how-to-renovate-a-chateau for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. I think we can say who made the marks in the hallway. When we bought this chateau, we knew that we wanted to run it as a guest house. We had a plan, which was that upstairs we would have the top, this is the top floor of our chateau, the second floor. This is where the old servants' quarters were. We decided to make that into our private apartment, and that meant that we insulated the floor here. We put down a special soundproofing insulation because we knew that we would be walking on top of the guest rooms and we had young children who would be like running around very early in the morning. But what I didn't know, and I wish I had known, is that even though we did those things, we tried to soundproof, we tried everything, it didn't help take away the fact that I couldn't 100% relax in my own home. Because when we had guests here, I just constantly thought about, oh my God, they're gonna hear the kids screaming. Okay, kids, shh, be quiet. So I think that I underestimated that effect on me. If I was doing this again, I would have definitely thought about, instead of renovating this top floor of the chateau, perhaps instead renovating an outbuilding where we would live separately from our guests so that we could have a normal family life, the kids could make as much noise as they wanted, and we would all feel a little bit more relaxed.
Come on, I'm going to show you another thing I wish I had known before buying a chateau. It's a bit of a mess here. How do you get around this?
And why is it a mess, Philip?
It's a mess because we just took all the wood wool to insulate our master suite bedroom. And yes, and I haven't had time to reorganize things here.
It's also
but there's a hint.
full.
There's already a hint. There's already a hint to what I want to show you.
Step over.
Yeah. What happened is that as soon as we bought the chateau, we started searching for furniture. For some reason, we thought that chateau rhymes with 19th century dark brown furniture. I think we were tempted by the small price tag of these type of furniture in local charity shops, and we thought they could work in the chateau. So we ended up with quite a lot of this brown furniture, which we never used, because immediately when we placed it in one of the rooms, we said, no, that doesn't work for us. I'm not saying it's ugly furniture, it is just not our taste, and it's not how we envision our chateau, our rooms. And the thing that I wish I had known before was, you need time to find your style, you need to try out things, and you don't need to panic buy furniture when you come into a project like this. Find your style and then source things carefully and slowly. That would be the better way to do it. So the last point is a little bit delicate. We realized as soon as we started thinking about how to decorate the house, how different our tastes are. Anna has this English cottage style retro kitsch.
And you have a middle-aged Italian man with a bit of flamboyancy thrown in.
So we had a lot of fights to start with.
Quite uncomfortable fights, actually.
Yes, yes.
Very stressful, because I think we really felt out of our comfort zone. We didn't know how to approach decorating in a style that we both liked.
And we realized that we do not have the same vision for the place aesthetically.
Yeah, this red is really stressing me. And I literally had to stop because I was like getting palpitations. I was physically stressed by the red. With our other previous renovations, it'd been very obvious to us the style we liked, which was a little bit more modern, quite clean, maybe a bit more kind of Scandinavian 50s modernist furniture, that sort of style. And then when we moved here, we soon realized that that style didn't really suit the sort of character and history of this building. So we needed to find a new style.
If we had known before that out of these struggles comes a style on its own that works for both of us in a house, we would have saved ourselves from a lot of fights and stress.
We don't have the same taste, but instead of looking at that as something negative and something that should sort of, create tension and division between us, I try to look at it now as, okay, maybe if I try to open my mind and try something that I'm a little scared of, that isn't my taste or my comfort zone, actually the results can be even better. For example, with our dining room, I really love the red colour that we've chosen for the dining room, and I think it looks amazing.
And what I learned from Anna is that you don't need to have every detail in a room and every piece of furniture being the perfect item by itself. As long as combined with the other things you have in a room, it works. On my own, I would have one crazy room after the other, and it would probably not work as a unity.
If we'd known that the outcome could be something actually really beautiful, and even more beautiful if we put our styles together, and we trusted each other a little bit more, we would have put our relationship through less pressure and stress.
Okay, this was a bit of a different vlog, a break from renovating for you guys, not for us, because we're going upstairs now and continue on the master suite.
And if any of you have maybe some feedback or comments about your own experiences, what you wish you had known before doing your own renovation projects, then please share them down below. Maybe even, I don't know, some couple advice, marriage advice, anything you want to share.
And thanks again for watching, for tuning in every week, and a special thanks to our patrons who make this channel possible. What a wasted opportunity to paint this room red.
Yeah, it was a lot of red paint wasted.
No, the opportunity to have a red room would have been amazing. Imagine red, looking out the green garden, red room. Fantastic.